Hey there, this is Don the Idea Guy, and it's time for episode 3 of Running Through My Mind. So today, just a quick update for day 3. Very excited to officially launch the podcast yesterday in a blog post, and I appreciate everybody who took a listen and shared it and shared their excitement with me. It was very cool to get that positive reinforcement from my friends and followers. Thank you very much. Hopefully you tune back in today. Today I'm going to answer a question I got about why I started the podcast and the format or unformat it's taking. I got a lot of great ideas and advice on topics to cover and content planning and that kind of thing. And that's actually the opposite idea of this podcast. That was one of the things that stopped me from getting the podcast launched before, is that I had a distinct plan for the content I wanted to cover for a variety of different themes, depending on the person I had approached to co-host. And I think that the planning and the structure scared some people away. And then for me to think about the things that, okay, if I'm going to do this myself, am I going to script it because I hate reading from a script? Am I going to try and memorize it because that ain't going to happen? And if I plan it out, is it exciting? Will it be as enthusiastically delivered if all of it is so planned out? And this was literally meant to be off the cuff, so quick. There was no way that I could deny doing it. There was no way I could procrastinate pushing the record button, the dive right in. I think I mentioned that in the first episode where I referenced the 10X rule, where Grant Cardone talked about, I should really call that person and pitch them. And then it would go into, I should set up an appointment, and I should do some research, and I should check them out online, and I should send them an email first. And pretty soon you talked yourself out of just pick up the phone. Just pick up the phone and call them. Start a real conversation. It begins with, hello, this is your name. So that's what I did with the podcast. Literally that day, I pulled into the parking space, opened up Spreaker, and hit record. And I like that. So I realized that this was the fact that I started was developing a habit of starting. And this began, I think, a year ago, as I think about it, when I decided that I needed to reduce the number of books I had. I've got a house full of bookcases. I literally have no place else to put a bookcase to add a book on the shelf. So to get more books, I was going to have to get rid of some books and or move to a larger place. And nobody wants to move those books, right? So I started looking at these books, and it was a huge job. Like, how am I going to clear off this shelf, and what am I going to do with them? And it's going to break my heart to get rid of these books. I love having a library. I'm a reader. I want to have those books. And I started with one book. So one book, just take one book off a shelf and put it in a box to give to a friend or donate or take to a half-price book or take to a Goodwill. One book. So every day I would take one book off the shelf and I would put it in a box. And I kept track of it. And I think as of this recording, I checked the number real quick before I hit record. But because of the app I'm using, I don't want to risk checking the app again to verify the number. But I think the number of books is up to 291. So that's almost 300 books that I've eliminated, the clutter I've gotten off my shelf, the room I've made for 291 books more. I've gotten rid of 291 books. They're not in the house anymore. Actually, maybe the last 10 are, because they're in that box waiting to be filled. And that led me to, wow, this is working, right? That one daily habit, one book every morning goes in the box. I would record it. There's a cool app called Productive, and it allows you to track habits. So I said, put a book in a box. And then every day I swipe it when I put the book in the box. I hit the button to add a note and I write down what the book title was. I don't think I started the book title till after the first 50 or 75, but now I've got a track of how many books in a row I've put in a box and each title of the book. And now that I think of it, the daily habit of doing one thing actually started longer ago than that. It started with Big Yellow Sticky. So BigYellowSticky.com started out as a daily content piece of art project I wanted to do by writing, I wanted to write something every day. And sometimes you start planning, what's that article going to be? Now I got to edit, and now I got to post it. I got to log into WordPress to do it. And I really need a graphic to go with it. And it would procrastinate, and I'd save a draft, or I'd start an article and not finish it. And, that habit wasn't being formed. So I started, what's the smallest amount of content? What is the tiniest amount of content that I can create and post every day reliably without fail? And that was write the post on a Post-it note. So a 3x3 yellow sticky, I write a daily quote. Sometimes I draw a cartoon, but every day without fail. And I decided I would do that and commit to it for a year. So it was 365 days of yellow sticky notes, which I did for all of 2015. And when I got close to the end of the year, I was like, am I going to do this next year? That's a commitment. And I did it. And it's a leap year. So really this year is going to be 366. And I haven't missed a day yet. And, I get the best feedback from that one daily action. That grew into the daily book. That turned into push-ups. So I think I started that a while back, and I did a few in a row, and then I stopped. I was using Productive to track it, and then I skipped. I got lazy, and I stopped for a day or two, and then I restarted again. And the cool thing about Productive is it tells you how many days in a row you did it. So if you interrupt that streak, you start all over from one again. So right now I'm on 51 consecutive days of push-ups. And that started with a ridiculously low number. That started with one push-up. I promised myself I would get up and do the absolute minimum I could do, and that was one push-up. Well, one push-up really didn't last that long. I found that while I was face down on the floor and doing push-ups anyway, I may as well squeeze out 2 or 3, and that went to 5. And then just for a couple of weeks, I just did 5 in a row. That was it, 5 in a row. And then that went to 10, and then 15, and then 20, and then 25, and then 30. And then now for the last 4 days, I've reduced that number to 21 because I'm doing an awareness campaign of 22 daily push-ups to raise awareness for 22 Kill, which is sadly the average number of daily suicides of our veterans. So a friend of mine started posting in social media videos of her doing 22 push-ups. Her name's Claire Crawford. Used to work with her at a radio station, and she's doing a great job of doing these 22 daily push-ups, all in the name of raising awareness for 22 Kill, and I started doing that. So I actually made it easier on myself for the next 22 days of doing 22 push-ups. So that's that daily habit. And now the podcast. So the podcast is going to be just this daily habit. How many days in a row can I do this? And I'm going to create a productive entry for it. So every day that I record the podcast, I can do a little swipe so I can start adding to the count. And I recommend you pick some daily habit, one thing. Maybe it's going to be sending an email to one friend every day. Reach out to one potential business contact every day. Maybe it's send out one thank you note to a customer. Just one daily habit, one ridiculously low daily habit, one ridiculously small daily habit. Put a book in a box. Do one push-up. And then pretty soon one habit will turn into 2, and you will have 2 turns into 3, and 3 turns into 4. And I think I'm up to 5 or 6 tiny daily habits that make me way more productive, make my day way more interesting, and it develops that habit of putting things out there into the world. And I think you guys can too. So ridiculously small goals that you just finished. There's another theory I talk about, the ridiculously short deadline, where I wanted to do an ebook, and I gave myself a Saturday morning. I was going to do an ebook and publish it without fail. I wouldn't even let myself get out of bed or go to the bathroom before I finished doing that book. And when I finished it, I published it online as a PDF that people could buy and download. I published it as a SlideShare slideshow. And that one thing, that one piece that I put out into the world with a ridiculously short deadline, resulted in an opportunity to bid on a $20,000 or $30,000 project. Now, I didn't get that project. I did not win that bid, but that content's still out there. I got great feedback from that content. That piece of content led to creating another piece of content that was similar but improved. So again, that one small piece leads to the next piece, leads to the next. It's all connected, my friends, and I appreciate you being connected to me on this daily podcast. So thanks for running through my mind with me, and I'll be back again tomorrow with another quick, small, daily dose of just a positive action habit. And I hope you'll decide to do that too, and leave a comment with the show, or shoot me an email, or add on to social media and just tell me what you're going to start, and begin with day one. All starts at day one. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye.